left. And don't forget, after this game is over, we're going to bring it back to the booth. We'll do a little trivia action. I'll explain the rules. Patrick will have the question for you. And as we do get results brought in to us about how the other matches are going, we will, of course, tell you guys at home. As the Cloud from Raptor is going to start things off for both players, we are underway here in the quarterfinals in Orlando.
And you want to have two ships passing into the night field. There's no better way than each player starting off with a Raptor. Not a lot of blocking is going to be going on.
I don't think so, as Omen Speaker's going to show up to the party. Time for a little scry action. You see Figueroa's going to take a look at his hand. He's got a Nightveil Spectre over there. He's got a Thassa too. So he's got a good hand for the mirror. And now you're going to see the scry action work. Just imagine over the course of this game if that was a Frostborn Weird instead. That's what I'm going to do in my head. You guys can do it at home as well. Maybe it would play a difference. Certainly going to add one more devotion. Maybe a better attacker too, as Biggers is going to play an island. He does have another Raptor in his hand. And he's going to play a Raptor and a Raptor. All right.
Setting up a really big third turn here.
The beatdowns will be in the air.
He is, a way to trigger the Raptors twice. He'll have quite a force.
Figueroa going to draw a card here. He's going to get into the red zone. Omen Speaker. Tough guy, huh? Coming on into the red zone. It looks like we're going to see a follow-up, which is going to be a Thassa. So a really, really nice curve here for Figueroa.
And I believe that he drew the Thassa this turn, as I think he only had the Nightveil Spectre, so if that's correct. Omen Speaker doing some work.
Judge's Familiar going to come in. It's going to evolve all three of these Raptors here. So now those things can attack, and now Frostborn is going to show up, and it's going to make it so they can really attack. So all of a sudden, we got a game that might change drastically here.
Yeah, this is a lot of pressure, but still being on the front foot here, being on the play, really good for Milton. If he was on the draw, this game would be over already.
So attack for 6, going to put Figueroa down to 14. It's time to scry for Thassa. So we'll take a little look-ski-poo. Looks like he's going to put that away. He's going to draw a card here. There is another copy of Thassa added to the hand, so redundant copy, not going to help very much. You can see in Bigger's hand, he has a Jace and a Biden, but he does not have the 4th land, so he's going to need to find that with the draw step. Figueroa going to play his 4th land. This is a Nightveil Spectre. That Cloud from Raptor is going to evolve, and these creatures are going to get into the red zone.
And as much as this deck is about building up its board presence, I almost feel like Dustin's compelled to chump block right here. Once Milton gets on tap with all of his mana available, he's not going to be able to do very much blocking. I like this chump block. It's not intuitive. If you've played this for the first time, Dustin's at 18 life. What's he doing chump blocking already? Yep. But he has a pretty dramatic edge on the board right now, so if he loses, it's likely to be just Thassa squeezing through too much damage.
The draw was a Frostborn Weird, which it's not a land, but it's still quite good. It's going to turn all of those Raptors into 3/4s. And this Air Force, where we saw just a start of just Raptor and then turn 2 Raptor, it's like, oh, okay, that's not the best start in the world. It's okay as long as everything kind of lines up appropriately. Well, it has.
And Dustin's representing lethal next turn.
Yeah. So an attack here for 9, going to knock Figueroa down to 5, and now all of a sudden, Figueroa unable to block with the Spectre and do the things that he needs to do. Now he's drawing a card. One of the cards that oftentimes bails you out of this situation, Patrick, is Master of Waves to gum things up. Well, that's not going to do it against those 3 flyers.
No, needs something in the air. Jace would do a little bit of work, but Master of Waves, one of the hallmark cards of this deck, has nothing to do with the game that's going on right now.
You see, it's just kind of an aggressive, just an aggressive match. The attacks in the air. Thassa is going to come into the red zone here for Figueroa. We might see a chump block again. And that's exactly what we're going to see. He's going to try to keep his life total very high. Figueroa's going to play, I don't know, there's a Master of Waves. And see the devotion count, that's going to be for 3, 4, 5, 6. So some elementals are going to come into play here. Now this is kind of gets interesting too, because now you see the game shift, where it's like Master doesn't block, but hey, if he can live for a turn, Master can attack.
Yes.
And that's really bad news.
Unfortunately, Milton is on, in essence, double chump block duty this turn.
So Biggers draw his card. It's another copy of Frostborn Weird. Would it be better off if it were an Omen Speaker? Not quite sure.
Last turn it would have been substantially worse, since it would not have evolved these Raptors.
Yeah. You see those Master of Wave tokens out there, though? They are threatening to attack for a whole bunch of damage. And now Biggers has to consider putting the brakes on, because if he attacks with all 3 of those Raptors, there'll be a chump block, and then 3 damage to get through, putting it 2. But then he only has 1 blocker on defense. You can maybe assign that blocker to, I guess you can put it on one of the Master tokens, but then that'd be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. That'd be more than enough for lethal. So that's the problem. You can see how the games just shift so quickly, where a turn ago, we were like, wow, Bigger's just going to win this game. I don't even know if Master Waves is a good draw. Well, how wrong we were. Master Waves was a great draw.
Dustin with Biden and Jason hand. Unable to cast, so it's just the weird. The problem is that Dustin can't really win by blocking, you know? Thassa's in play, and
Yeah, and he has to. I think that he's resigned to the fact that he just has to attack with everything. And of course, Figueroa says, I'm going to block your 2 flyers. I'll end up taking 3. I'm going to lose my 2 flyers, but I'm not dead. I'm going to go down to 2. And Biggers has just 1 follow-up play. Wasn't able to find a land for the Jace. And Jace's +1 may have won in this game. But either way, Thassa's going to untap, along with everything else. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that Thassa is not on right now. So we need something to turn it on for Figueroa. Now, Scry can certainly help do that, but he needs 2 more blue symbols to turn it on so that can be an attacker.
yeah, I mean, yep, Milton has to put near a bunch of his cards on the bottom here.
Just looking for a double blue card. And this is where Omen Speaker
And
come back
that
to hurt him,
is-
but
is
that
that
is a
Jace?
Jace. So Jace is going to come down. All right, so let's see how this changes things, because now that's going to come in. It's going to turn over some cards. I think what he's looking for is a land. Yep, that's exactly what he's looking for. So he finds a land. So what he can do, because he hasn't played a land for the turn, is he takes the land. He can make Thassa unblockable and attack with everything else. So Thassa immediately accounts for 5 points of damage. It'll put Biggers at 10, and then he won't be able to block everything else. So
Yep.
he's going to play Mutavault. You got to make this unblockable, and everybody coming on in. And that is going to do it for that game. So, Milton Figueroa is going to win game number 1 here of the Mono Blue Devotion Mirror. You can see the back and forth where it's like, okay, Milton's going to win. All right, now Biggers is going to win. And all of a sudden, now Milton's going to win, and he does win.
And Milton was very fast about his operations, too.
Mhm.
That turn was that last turn was actually kind of on the complicated side. He did it very fast, showing some experience in the mirror match.
It's time to bring it back to the booth. It's trivia time, my friends, where our first of 6 giveaways this weekend. Now, we're going to give away 3 months in the quarterfinals, as we always do, and you're going to be the questionnaire. You're prepared?
I am. This time you actually gave me some notice, so it was a little bit easier for me. Usually you're just, you know, and Patrick has a question for you, just dumping it on my lap.
You gotta be quick here in the booth, man. It's not my fault.
So you want to go over the rules?
I would love to go over the rules.
over
The
the
rules, of
rules.
course, get your Twitters open, hashtag SCG Premium for the question that Patrick will ask you. We'll announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinals. So again, it is about accuracy, not speed. We'll select one winner from the people who do get it correct on Twitter. So make sure you're following at SCG Live, hashtag your answer with the hashtag of SCG Premium, and know the answer to the following.
So, Milton Figueroa, who we just saw win the first game, has controversially, both in the booth and via comments we have seen, cut the card Frostburn Weird from his deck for a different 2-drop that doesn't facilitate devotion quite as well.
This is true.
Name that 2-drop.
If you can name it, hashtag SCG Premium for your answer, as we are going to kick it back over to the match here momentarily. We're going to look at sideboards now. Probably not too different, but we'll see. We'll start with Biggers, because he is going to be on the play, and I see a card I didn't expect to see, the first one.
2 copies of Aetherling. He has 4 gainsays, 2 dissolves, and negate a Cyclonic Rift, a Curse of the Swine, a Rabbit Hybridization, 2 domestication, and 1 Jace Architect of Thought. I'm curious to see how this is actually going to play out, because there's cards, for example, like Curse of the Swine, which I can imagine being good. You want to handle the flyers and master waste and such, but are the games just too fast to be messing around with a card is that slow? I'm not really sure. I think he definitely, at least on the play, wants the 4 copies of Gainsay. I think Dissolve is a little bit too slow, and I think you can also bring in the domestications as well.
We see on Figueroa's side, he's got 4, count 'em, 4 copies of Domestication. This is a card at the Invitational Las Vegas that Greg Hatch was main decking to get an edge in some places. And you see Figueroa has 4, 2 copies of Cyclonic Rift. We'll come back to that card in just a second, but 1 Dispel, 3 Gainsays are obvious, 1 Rapid Hybridization, a Biden, 2 Jaces, and then the 1 Jace Memory Adept. But Cyclonic Rift is this interesting card because there are some games where it's going to play a huge role, others where it's kind of mopey, but, you know, there are definitely going to be some games in some game states where you know, find your Nykthos or take their Nykthos and really turn it into a huge blowout. You know, you can bounce the guy who's being domesticated, you can bounce a Thassa, you can bounce the Master of Waves. There's so many different things you can do with Rift in this matchup. It seems like it's automatically going to come in, but having to play around Rift and what they're going to bounce with it seems very hard.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know exactly how much to value these counter spells and bounce spells at, because it's a pretty big cost to leave mana up. These decks are really good at tapping out, especially unopposed, and these decks are playing pretty much unopposed against one another. So, like you said, I could definitely see spots where things like Cyclonic Rift and the counter spells that Dustin has access to are really good, but I am worried overall about having too many cards that require you to leave mana up when these decks are so streamlined and so about playing to the board.
Yeah, what kind of deck do you want to be in this matchup? Do you want to be the deck that does tap out every turn and you play 1-drop and a 2-drop into Thassa, Nightwing Spectre, in the 4-drop being either Master of Waves or Domestication your creature or what have you? Or do you want to go 1-drop, 2-drop? All right, I'm going to leave up a counter spell.
I think I like the third.
Yeah, it's really.
I think
it's
I like
hard
the
to
first.
say.
I like the first plan better. I think.
I do too. Being updated right now on exactly what's going on in the matchup. Our 1 versus 8 seed. That's our backup match. Brennan DeCandio does win game 1 over Mike Smith in the Orzhov mid-range mirror. And we do have Tyler Wilkinson with Mono Blue Devotion up a game over Mike Riley in his Naya deck. So it doesn't look like Riley got off to a great start here. But our backup match, I didn't know it would go so fast, but when pack rats are involved, maybe it doesn't take so long.
Can go kind of fast. To give you also a sense of the size of the hall right now, if you look in the very, 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 very back corner of Milton's screen, you can see us back here commentating.
Can you see us? If we wave, do you think they can see us?
I can't see.
I can't see it either.
Yeah. So that's how large it is. We're waving right now, and you can't even see it.
This convention center is big.
Yes.
There were a lot of people here today. It was actually awesome, though. I love when we have gigantic turnouts at these tournaments.
Yeah, often, Florida has some attendance issues just because it's fairly isolated.
Yeah.
It's a really long state. I think if you're not from the area, you underestimate how long it would take to drive from, let's say, Atlanta to down here. Because it's only one state across, but it's actually huge. So getting close to 600 for a standard open is really good turnout, and I think far better than we've generally been able to get in our opens in Florida. I mean, the Grand Prix in Miami had a standard Grand Prix in Miami last summer had 1,200 people. For a standard Grand Prix in the middle of summer, that's not particularly good numbers, but Orlando really showed up today.
Props to the people in Florida for coming out, playing some games. As we are going to bring it back here, Figueroa looks like he takes a mulligan. He gives a thumbs up. Biggers is going to be on the play. No 1-drop. So I want to see what the configuration that players have here. Neither player does have a 1-drop. There's a land off the top pass turn. There's no 2-drop either. Now, predictably, Tidebinder Mage probably came out of their deck. But, again, is Tidebinder Mage the kind of card you want to have in after Sideboard, or you just want to get the beatdown started?
Well, I think because these decks both play a lot of stuff onto the board, in a lot of matchups you keep in Tidebinder Mage, even if it's not important because of the devotion count. But here, because these decks are so good at blocking, it seems really bad to have a Tidebinder Mage. You can keep it in against decks like Blue, White, or Esper. It's not its most efficient, but still a 2-power attacker. Helps a lot with devotion, but in decks where there's, matchups where there's Frostburn Weirds and Night Veil Specters and Omen Speakers even, I don't think you can afford to really have a Grizzly Bear.
So there's an Omen Speaker, and Biggers had a Gainsay in his hand, and he chose not to counter it. Now, it doesn't really surprise me. It's an Omen Speaker. I'm not countering that stupid card, but again, this could play a larger role in this matchup because now you got a creature attacking, starting to put a little bit of pressure on. It's providing a little bit of devotion as well, and at some point, you're going to do something because now here's a Cloudform Raptor. Are you going to gainsay that? No, thumbs up. Here's a land. Here's a Omen Speaker. Are you going to gainsay that?
You got to gainsay something.
You got to counter something. You can't just sit there the entire time because you get beat down. Thumbs up. Raptor's going to evolve, and now all of a sudden there's 3 power on the board. And for Biggers to be able to get back in this game, he's going to have to tap man on his own turn to do something about this, which means that his gainsays are down and Figueroa's relevant spells are going to start resolving.
Yeah, and I actually am really enjoying watching this match because this is kind of the 2 schools of thought we were talking about in the matchup. Do you want to be this Drago deck that's trying to play high-impact cards, or do you want to keep your curve low to the ground and try to win the game that way? You can see Dustin's gone into a much more reactive plan, and Milton appears to be staying pretty true to the game 1 plan.
Now here's a domestication. Now, the targets here are not great. However, give me that Cloudform Raptor, says Biggers. But now Figueroa's going to untap. He gets to take a draw. He's scryed a bunch here, so his draws are probably set up in a way that he's very, very happy about. And one thing to notice here, too, Patrick, is he does have his 1 Nykthos.
Yes. And a Master of Waves and his own domestication.
So he's going to domesticate this. Now, he controls the domestication to the Cloudform Raptor. He does not control the other domestication, however. But if you're wondering what his devotion count is, 2, 3, it's 5 right now.
Correct.
It is 5. So now Biggers What are you going to do? He's going to pass the turn back here. And again, this school of thought of I'm just going to play a control deck really not working out very well here for Dustin. Figueroa's going to draw his card, and he's got a ton of mana available now due to that Nykthos.
So we can either just not play into anything at all because Dustin's clearly sitting on some reactive cards, or try to overpower his counterspell in one turn. If I was in Milton's seat, I would probably just attack for 3 and say go.
I mean, that's where I would start. You have to do something. If I'm Milton playing Figures right now, okay, well, I'm not going to change what I'm doing until you actually do something. You're not doing anything right now. Now, here's a Cyclonic Rift. So let's see what this is going to do.
Which one of these dorks do you want to target?
Yeah.
I guess perhaps the domestication could be going back.
But whose domestication? Well, I guess you can't target. He can't target his own, so he has to target because Rift. So he has to target Milton's. So Milton's domestication would go back to the grip. And so what that means is that I believe, the creature would just go back to his side.
Right. He would control the domestication, which is.
Yeah. So it looks like we're going to get this all figured out here because it is touch confusing exactly what does happen.
Yeah, there's time stamping issues that can occur with competing control magic effects, for example, but this is not one of those times. There will similarly be one domestication on the Raptor. So
So now the Raptor is tapped. Now we draw a card. Now here is a Master of Waves. That's going to be protected by Gainsay. So Master is placed onto the stack. And yeah, that Raptor should be untapped. That's what I thought. Okay.
So I think Milton may respond with this by trying to use a Rapid Hybridization in his hand.
Maybe, yeah, with this on the stack. Maybe time for a little Rapid Hybrid action. Targeting the Cloud from the Raptor, perhaps, or the Master itself. Okay. Huh? I was going to say, you got to pull the trigger on that. Wow, not going to pull the trigger on the Gainsay now.
Well, he knows about the domestication in hand, so he can't.
That's true.
He could just simply domesticate the Master of Waves. So he does get a 3/3 in this exchange, which is actually pretty good against Milton's board of just 1/3s.
So Evolution's going to take place on the Raptor. It's going to become a 2/3. And he does get a 3/3 on the board. The Frog Lizard. Now, it will be summoning Sick. But he will get one of those, and so there it is. And then that's going to evolve. Oh, hold on. Master comes in. Master's trigger on the stack. Yeah, so Master comes in. There's an Evolution trigger on the stack. And then the Frog Lizard comes in. So then the Frog Lizard's going to come in.
Evolve again.
So yeah, the Frog Lizard's going to come in. The Evolve trigger is going to resolve. So it doesn't get to evolve until 3/4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Milton is showing a lot of ease and efficiency with some pretty complicated interactions.
Hey, he plays Magic Online a lot. I know that. And, I mean, again, this is an accomplished guy. In multiple different card games, is he going to draw a Thassa for the turn? None of this feels like it's very new to him. So maybe we're going to see a domestication here. We know he has one. He also has a Master of Waves, too. He's going to go with Jace. So get the Planeswalker established.
Well, I'm sure he's very confident that there's a Gainsay in Dustin's hand, so he's leading with whatever he feels the least relevant card is in his hand.
Yeah, here's the test spell that I don't really care about if it resolves. So here's an attack for 5 from Biggers. Damage is going to come across, and now here is a Master of Waves. So 2, 3, 4. However, Figueroa, we know he has that domestication, so he can just take the Master, and as a result, those tokens will wash ashore. Island the draw.
Although, you know, Dustin's not too upset with trading off his turn for Milton's this way, as he's just trying to get, you know, he's trying to finish off this game pretty quickly.
Yeah, so.
But Milton on the other side of the table is setting up a very big Master Waves of his own.
Yes. That's the scary thing, as in comes the 2 Omen Speakers. And again, because there's no reach in this matchup, you know, you can afford to just take another shot.
The only reach really is Thassa.
Yeah.
It's not quite reach, but you know what I mean. It's something that can punk you out even after you've stabilized the board.
Looks like Gainsay's the draw here for Biggers. He's going to keep right on attacking. No reason to stop. Attack for 5 more. Figueroa's going to go down to 8. Wants to keep that Master of Waves. Not only is he working towards a big, Master of Waves, you did mention for Figueroa, also working towards a big Nykthos turn too. Figueroa going to draw a card, some Mutavault.
And the land is not a bad draw here, as I believe that gives him now enough mana to play both spells this turn. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blue mana in play, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, the big question is which card does he actually care about more? And he's going to lead off here with Thassa. Basically, which card do I think you're going to counter? And he's going to counter this one. And then what we might end up seeing is that, okay, the Master of the Way is actually the card I care about.
Yeah.
And so in comes that. And that's going to be for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elemental tokens that are going to be 3 2s as opposed to 2 1s because there are 2 Masters in play.
Milton has done a really incredible job of setting this game up.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And now everyone's going to come into the red zone here. Obviously, no blockers for bigger, so it's going to be attack for 2, 3, 4. It's 8 to 8. It's an even game. Does it feel even?
Not really.
No.
25 power in play against 5 is sort of shifts the math.
But the score says it's 8 to 8.
Yeah, it's tied.
Yeah. Even right now, domestication, which is oftentimes one of the best draws that you can have in the mono blue mirror, domestication doesn't even do anything. But you're going to take a master waves? All right, my tokens are still alive. I've already gotten 1 master. So that's not going to take care of that problem. And yeah, he's going to draw the card. He's going to extend the hand. So Milton Figueroa, your 4th seed, looked impressive there.
He's played some really, really good Magic on camera this weekend.
Yes. Yes, he has. And he is the winner. He's coming back tomorrow morning. Mono Blue Devotion. Well, one of them had to push on through. And so one of them will be playing the winner of Brennan DeCandio and Mike Smith, who are playing the Orzhov mid-range deck. But it's going to be Milton Figueroa with some impressive stuff here, playing Mono Blue Devotion. A good run for Biggers, but his tournament is over.
Yeah, and we saw the 2 paths we were talking about during the sideboard games. Dustin trying to move into a more controlling place, and Milton basically maintaining his curve. He brought in, some domestications. They're clearly very powerful in the matchup, and Milton was able to get ahead on the board. And then every time Dustin actually committed mana to doing something, Milton was able to add something powerful on his side of the table too. So the initial push that he got by using his mana on cards instead of keeping mana open was a real difference maker in the way that game played out.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of